Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Are you able to hear my voice? Thumbs up from someone? Great, thank you. My name is Calvini Raja. I work at the IDC, and I'm just going to quickly take you through our agenda for this afternoon, next 2 hours. Thank you for joining this webinar, and we hope to present significant information to you and hopefully get good responses from yourself during the application process. I quickly want to take you through the agenda for the next 2 hours. We will have the presidency speaking to us and giving us an overview of the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention. Thereafter, we will have our collaboration partners, Harambee and GIZ, giving us a talk on what support they are offering to applicants to this program. And we will then follow with the IDC as the fund manager for the program, of the fund manager of the Innovation Fund. We will give you more detail in terms of the terms of the fund, the requirements, and the application process. Thereafter, we'll have a Q&A on addressing any of your concerns or requirement for clarity. Thank you. We have Lerato online. I'm hoping she's online to present first for the presidency. Lerato? Hey, if you don't mind, just give us a moment. We're just trying to get Lerato online. Going to join us in a moment.
Hi, sorry, Calvini. I think something is wrong with the people say they can't hear.
I did receive a few thumbs up.
Yeah, I think only now. Like, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Can I have sharing rights?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I saw one message. Oh, perfect. I'm glad people can hear. Am I the one echoing? Someone is saying they can hear an echo. All right, perfect. Thanks very much for the Calvini, and welcome everybody. We are very excited to see so many of you on the call. I'm going to take you through an overview, a quick overview of the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention, but specifically focused today on giving you an overview of the National Pathway Management Network, which is the part of the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention that is actually putting out this call. So
Lerato's gone dead. Fine.
my mic and camera and sharing keep disappearing, Calvini. I'm not sure what's happening. Can I have sharing rights again?
Our team has just sorted it. I think you can carry on.
Okay, thank you. We will be sharing all the presentations and the recording to this webinar. We are also, in fact, going to be having another, we are going to be having another webinar of this kind. So all of you should, if you want to come hear this again, you're welcome to to join that webinar. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Just put it on presentation mode. All right. Thank you all again for making the time. I'm taking you through today an overview of the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention, specifically focused on the National Pathway Management Network. I don't think I need to tell anyone on this call why the youth employment crisis is at a devastating level, or the actual levels of devastation within this crisis. But the youth employment intervention is really designed to try and respond to a particular aspect of this challenge, which is that too many young people in our country simply don't transition from learning to earning. Every year, about 1 million young people leave the school system in South Africa. 28% of them enter into post-schooling education. About 15% of them find work or remain active in the market, while a staggering 57% sit outside any kind of economic activity. What we do know is that in our context, the relationship between your level of education as well as your ability to gain a foothold in the economy remains extremely strong. So those young people who have managed to get decent education and high levels of education are able to actually find some pathways to sustainable earning. But what we do know is also a key feature of our context is that many young people have actually actively stopped searching for work. So there's a big part of the objective that is about how we reduce the levels of young people who have left or are now disillusioned and searching for work. So for this reason, in 2020, the president launched the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention as a mechanism to transition young people from learning to earning. It is focused on 3 core objectives. The first is about driving systems change to address the specific barriers young people are facing. The second is about stimulating demand and aggregating existing demand so that young people can access existing opportunities in a seamless way, and then linking those young people to those opportunities. There are 4 core components. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on the National Pathway Management Network, so I won't speak about that now. The second component is the demand-led skilling. The demand-led skilling component specifically deals with exactly that. How do we skill young people in ways that are actually responsive to the opportunities that are available or can be created in our economy? We have a revitalized National Youth Service. That is, youth service is not new, but in this context, we are experimenting with a part-time model where we also support young people to start gaining access to the next form of earning post the service period. The last component is then a local ecosystem enablement aspect, which deals specifically with how to ensure that young people are able to successfully enter and stay.
Lerato, sorry, Lerato, my apologies to interject there. Your slides are not moving. I'm not sure whether you are moving your slides. Have you moved your slides at all? Hello, Raja. It was Lerato.
She's read my message.
Yeah, she will. He left.
Rebooting.
I think let's give Lerato a moment to rejoin us.
Yeah. Presentation.
Hi, Calvini. Am I back?
Yes, thanks, Lerato. Thank you for that. We'll be eagerly waiting to go through your presentation. Let's just start with your presentation again, if you can share it, and we'll
Okay.
see if the slides are moving.
Oh, where the slides not moving.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see now. Let me know if you can see it. Is it in presentation mode?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm not sure what's happening. Still not.
So, Lerato, we advise that perhaps you should take your unplug your extended monitor.
I don't have an extended monitor. Do you want to share them on your end? Apologies, everyone, for this. Because I'm not sure if it's a network issue or what's happening. Because it's on presentation mode on my end.
Yeah, let me try and get your
It
presentation.
is showing.
Okay, now it's moving. And move to the next slide.
Is it? Yeah, I'm just worried that we're going to have the same issue. So if you, because I did share it with everyone, if you can share it on your end, if it is a network issue for me.
Okay, let me try and share.
Yeah, okay.
This is Lerato sharing.
Apologies for this. Okay.
Lerato, are you still going to share, or must I share?
No, please share on your end.
Yeah.
To avoid any more issues.
Let's go there.
Okay. Then you can just move the slides for me.
Getting into presentation mode. Just give me a second. Struggling to get into presentation mode. Just give me a second.
So then it must be an issue on, I don't know where. There we go. I can see it in presentation mode, Calvin.
Perfect. Thank you, Stan.
Thanks. Thanks to the IT people.
Yes, without them, I don't know what we do. Thanks, Stan. Should we leave that then? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks, Stan. Lerato, should I go to slide?
Next slide, yes. Go to the next slide.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Thank you, Lerato. Oh, no.
Okay, I'm not sure what is happening because then it must be a Teams thing.
There we go. This looks a lot better. Okay. Moving down.
So just try and go to the, is it moving now? Can I now move it as well? Is the issue sorted?
I think it's sorted. Let me just go up. Right. So there is a bit of a delay. There we go. So you can see that Lerato overview of the PYEI.
Yes. Just go one slide before.
Slide before.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, I'm not going to repeat. I'm not going to repeat this because I think everyone that is interested in this fund is definitely doing work in this space. But yeah, the point is that we all know just how extensive the crisis is for young people in this country. So if we can go to then the overview of the PYI, I'll quickly go through this part again. So that's the key sort of tagline for the PYI, is transitioning young people from learning to earning. And the three key objectives that sort of anchor this intervention is really at a systematic level trying to address the barriers that young people face. And I think that point is key. I'll talk to it again when we get to the NPMN, that it's really about what are the systematic issues that are driving the youth unemployment challenge, and what solutions can all of you sort of bring to the table to address those. Stimulating new demand and also aggregating the existing demand in ways that are then seamless for young people to be linked to those opportunities. We have the 4 core components. The NPMN is the focus of this one. This particular webinar, the demand-led skilling, is about shifting the way we train so that our training actually translates into employment or earning opportunities for young people. The revitalized National Youth Service is testing a part-time model that is also focused specifically on transitions, and we are enabling local systems in ways that are looking to improve young people's ability to enter into and succeed in forms of self-employment as well as enterprise. We are focused on 4 priority growth areas. Although for the purpose of this particular funding call, we're looking at all sectors of the economy where all of you on the call are working in and have identified opportunities to create forms of earning for young people. The PYI is really implemented through a strong partnership approach. As many of you know, the presidency is not an implementing department. We are, in this context, the overall custodian for the PYI, and we are responsible for providing strategic direction across all aspects of the intervention. I'm part of the Project Management Office, which is the unit in the private office of the president that is responsible for coordinating, providing political leadership, and then supporting all the different departments that have been delegated to implement. The Department of Employment and Labor is responsible for the National Pathway Management Network. And then we've assigned DTIC, the Higher Education and Training Department, the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, to all other components. Across all of this work, what we've also done is bring in non-government partners, development partners, private sector, civil society into the different coordinating mechanisms that we've established to ensure that this is a whole of society solution and a whole of society approach to addressing the youth employment crisis. Just to give you a quick sense of how we are doing in terms of performance overall, we track the PYI against many indicators, but the focus is really on 3 key ones. The first is making sure that at least 5 million young people are engaged in the National Pathway Management Network. They're able to get support, improve their employability, and actually access earning opportunities. The second is to actually place them in 1.5 million temporary earning opportunities, and then support no less than 500,000 of them to be engaged in sustainable forms of earning. How are we doing on this so far? To date, 4.3 million young people are in the network, accessing support through all the various partners that are in the network currently. We have placed young people into just over 1.3 million temporary earning opportunities. And these first 2 indicators is sort of where we've placed a lot of energy as the PYI was kickstarted and launched. And we are starting to place more emphasis now on this last indicator, and a whole series of evaluations and tracer studies are in progress to start understanding which of the interventions that we've been implementing are actually translating into sustainable earning for young people. If you can go to the next slide. We have a public-facing dashboard on the State of Nation address. I'm not going to go through these numbers in detail, but you're able to go there and click on any of these and you'll get all the in-depth data and the breakdown by demographic information such as gender and weight provinces and whether these are young people in rural areas or urban areas, etc. So I do invite everyone to go do that, especially for the National Pathway Management Network, so that you have a better sense of what is coming out of there and what your specific contribution through this fund could be. If you can go to the next slide. Okay, so what is this National Pathway Management Network? And how does it actually work, and what would it mean for you to then be a part of this? So you will have seen in the term sheet, those of you who've had a chance to read it in detail, that this funding call, the Innovation Fund, is a fund that is made available to all the partners in the network. It is run as an open tender because we are wanting to also use the opportunity to crowd in new partners that can bring new innovation into this network. So a key condition to be able to actually get funding from the Innovation Fund is that you're also signing up to become a member of this network. And what this network is what we like to call a network of networks. So we've brought together just about over 30 partners at the moment that are each managing a network of young people or supporting a network of young people, either to address specific barriers, whether that's skilling or transport, or they're actively helping to connect them to earning opportunities into a single network. And what we are effectively wanting to do and are working on, which is work in progress, is to start linking all these different ecosystem partners such that they are sharing opportunities between each other so that young people have visibility of everything that is available to them, especially in their local context. So as far as is possible, bringing the support to where young people actually live, so that we also increase the visibility of said young people to the people who hold the opportunities. Young people can then access anyone in the network through the various channels. We have, of course, the SA Youth MOBI platform, the National Youth Development Agency's physical sites, as well as the Department of Employment and Labor centers, but also online platforms that are zero rated and available for free to young people who face deprivation. We're going to share these slides. We've added a video here, which I was going to show, but because of all the technical challenges earlier on, I'm going to skip over this, but it gives you a good overview of what the network is in visual form in the video. So I invite you all to have a look at that. I'll also post it in the chat once I'm done presenting so that you also have access to it there. So if you can just move over, and you'll need to keep clicking now. I just wanted to give people a flavor of who's who in the National Pathway Management Network's key institutions, so that as you engage with the material, you understand how to locate the different players. So I've explained, of course, that the role of the presidency is that of custodian and the lead on strategic direction for the PYI, including then the National Pathway Management Network. The president delegated the implementation of this network to the Minister of Employment and Labor. So the Department of Employment and Labor is the lead implementing department. This is also who the funding for the Innovation Fund would then flow to from the National Treasury. The department has then appointed two key players as part of this implementation. The first is Harambee, who play the role of National Pathway Manager, and they also manage the SA Youth platform. And then the second is the Industrial Development Corporation, who are hosting us for this webinar as part of their role as the fund manager. So they are responsible for running the call, doing the adjudication, and if eventually appointing those of you that will be finally contracted to implement your different innovations. I've also then included GIZ, just go back. The GIZ, in partnership with the presidency, is rolling out a program that they call Support to the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention. And through this support, they provide capacity building to all our implementing organizations across the entire PYI, monitoring and evaluation. They support us with some of the learning events, etc. So they're going to be presenting, because they are, for this particular call, going to be providing some technical capacity to those of you who want to apply, So helping you with writing your proposals, making sure you meet the requirements. And Harambee will also then be available to help you think through whether what you're proposing will meet the objectives of the National Pathway Management Network. Does it actually contribute to the gaps that currently exist, etc.? So they'll present, GIZ will present after this to give you a sense of what support you're able to access. The support is obviously in no way a requirement. You don't have to take it up. It does not mean you will get appointed. It's really just for us to offer this so that you have some access to technical support should you require it. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so I do know that many people are obviously wanting to understand what if we are not already in the network. I'm sure there are many people in the call here who are already part of the National Pathway Management Network, but those of you who would join the network through being appointed as part of this fund are probably wondering what would that then entail? What does that mean? And so I wanted to give a sense of how the network structures currently work and how you can then locate some of the thinking you're already doing for your applications. We have a national coordinating committee that brings together 8 national departments as well as the NYDA. So these are all the departments that have in some way or other, their mandates include addressing some of the barriers that young people are facing or providing them with opportunities for skilling or earning. Then there's a technical committee, which is where any partners that will get appointed through this fund will need to then participate in this technical committee. This is where all the partners that are actually delivering the interventions for young people or to young people are then participating. There's a technical subcommittee that deals with interoperability. So these would be the types of partners that run platforms, digital platforms, or have digital offerings that need to plug into the whole. The overall vision is that we actually have a completely interoperable system where we can see how young people are moving through all of the different interventions and what their pathways actually are, and how we then intervene in those pathways to provide them better support. It's a much longer term project, but as it stands currently, it's been about how we share APIs between the systems so that the opportunities are being shared across the platforms. There's a subcommittee that deals with ecosystem mapping, and this particular one is about how we intervene in a local context and what is available in local communities to young people who reside in those, especially where those communities are home to a lot of excluded young people. But what are the interventions that are already in play? How is demand being stimulated in those ecosystems? What do we understand about the profile of young people who live in those communities? Then there's a subcommittee on demand support, and you'll see the language in the term sheet. This is actually one of the big gaps we are trying to close. So the demand support is about the stimulation of demand as well as the aggregation of existing opportunities into this network so that we can make it available to young people seamlessly. So we are really interested in innovations that are thinking about how in whatever spaces you work in, can we be stimulating earning opportunities that are sustainable for young people, and what kind of interventions allow us to unlock that kind of demand. There's a subcommittee that's aggregating all the e-learning tools and dealing specifically with barriers around young people accessing those, but also actually increasing the throughput rate on some of those tools that are available, as well as getting clearer on which of the plethora of e-learning actually are demand responsive. So how many of them actually respond to the opportunities? And so if young people do partake in them and get further support, they would actually be able to unlock earning in the economy. And then the pilot subcommittee brings together the different pilots that have been tested or are being tested. Some of your projects will fall into this because we are looking to fund either projects that are at pilot stage or those that are looking to be scaled up. So those that are at pilot stage would then form part of this. committee and maybe also be relevant for some of the other committees. Harambee, as the National Pathway Manager, then is a cross-cutting ecosystem manager for this entire system, and they are responsible also for then supporting the functioning of this network. So I hope that provides some sense of why we added that technical term sheet to the appendix as well, to give you a sense of what this committee is about and allow you to start locating yourself. These subcommittees are in no way fixed, so don't be too constrained by what already exists, because it's actually a very agile network. So where you think that there's a gap that is even missing in what I've just presented, but would be fundamental to resolving the binding constraints to young people being able to succeed in the labor market, please go ahead and make those proposals as part of the fund. Thank you, Calvin. I'll stop there. And I'll hand over to Bianca then, and then we'll take questions for both of us before we move on to the IDC presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Lerato. Bianca, do you want me to fly to your presentation, or you want to fly from your side?
Currently, I cannot share. Could you give me rights to share?
Okay, doing that right now.
Go ahead and share.
You can go ahead, Bianca.
I still cannot share. The button is gray, but if you do have the presentation, maybe you can share on your end. Perfect. Thank you so much. Good day, everyone. Thank you for having us. It's our pleasure to present to you today the support that we can offer to all those of you that would like to work on the applications for the Innovation Fund. If we can go to the slide number 2.
Bianca, just 2 seconds. We're trying to put it on presentation mode.
No problem. I'll keep talking in the meantime. As Lerato already mentioned, GIZ supports the presidency in implementing the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention. And one part of that project is to support potential implementing organizations. So we have capacity development support that we extend to those that are already part of the PYEI, but also support those that are eager to submit a proposal for one of the financing instruments, which is what we're looking at here. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. So what type of support are we offering? These are some of the examples of what's on offer. We can support with the ideation of projects, so making sure that your project idea aligns with the objectives of the fund. We can provide support in the area of compliance to make sure that your organization fulfills the eligibility criteria. However, please be mindful that any costs that arise from going through the steps to get the compliance would have to be carried by your organization. Then we're providing support in the area of monitoring, evaluation, reflection, and learning. And this could, for example, entail support towards developing the theory of change of your project. And then lastly, also support in the area of proposal development, so making sure that your proposal is a compelling one that really highlights the strengths of your organization and your project. Who is implementing the support? It's not us at GIZ directly, but we have 2 excellent service providers that we're working with. DEZ is a boutique consulting firm that is providing some of the broader support, and Impact Consulting is a consulting firm that specifically supports you in the area of monitoring, evaluation, reflection, and learning, and with the theory of change. You will submit your expressions of interest to us at GIZ, and we will then connect you with the right service provider. As Lerato already said, there is no guarantee if you make use of the support that you will get access to the funding. We are in no way involved in the selection process for this fund, neither GIZ nor DEZ or Impact Consulting, but we are very much eager to help you in writing a proposal that is compelling and fits well within the mandate of the fund. So, of course, you do not have to make use of the support. This is a completely voluntary offer. The support is for anyone, whether you are a nonprofit organization, a governmental entity, or a private sector organization. You're all welcome to make use of this. And there are no costs associated with the support for you. The costs are entirely borne by GIZ. How do you make use of this? Send us an email to S2PYEI, that is support to the Presidential Youth Employment Intervention, @giz.de, and enter Innovation Fund support in the subject line so that we find your email quickly. Please also provide us with the name of your organization, a very brief description of what your project idea is, and then please let us know what type of support you're interested in, what the questions are that you have. And we will then allocate your requests to the right service provider that will be in a best position to help you. The support is made available on a first-come, first-served basis. Obviously, our service providers have limited capacity, so at some point we're going to have to cut it off. But yeah, please make use of this, especially in the early stages of the call for proposals, so that we have a lot of time to help you working on your proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bianca. For everyone, yes, the recordings and the presentations for this afternoon will be uploaded onto the website. So it might take by the end of the day. By the end of the day, the recordings and presentations will be uploaded for your ease of access. For now, let's just go into quick Q&A because we've had two presentations. And if I could ask the audience to raise their hand, and we can take some questions, the raised hands, as well as potentially look at some of the questions on the chat. My colleague Stuart can help me. Are there any burning questions in the chat that we can address?
There's a hand there.
There's a hand. Someone able to help me from tech support? Who's the hand?
Pindile.
The hand is from? Pindile. Yes, Pindile. Unmute. Okay, there we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hear you? Yes, we can hear you clearly, Pindile.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. It's just a brief one. I tried going to the website. I'm not sure if I'm using the wrong link, but I battled to sort of download the terms of reference, etc., etc. Is it up and running properly for all those documentations?
Yes, Pindile, it is up and running. We've tested it. Many other parties have been able to access it. Perhaps you want to email Innovation Fund at idc.co.za, and I can send it to you directly, but it is available and easily available on the website. It has been running for the past few days. I'll put the email address on the chat, and then if you can just directly email us, and then I will forward it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Then there's a question, Calvini, that From Geordie, the pilot pillar of the coordinating committee. Can you explain a bit further about the stipulation of no technical requirements? Is that in relation to entry requirements for youth, or does it refer to infrastructure required to roll out the pilot?
Can I ask Lerato to take that question?
Sure. Can the person just explain where the no technical requirements is coming from? Is that because it's not in my presentation?
Geordie, did you hear Lerato? Do you perhaps want to?
Oh, just to go to the, okay, let me see where ensure that these pilots have, yeah, so it is in reference to the youth, that statement, to your point in the chat. It's not in reference to the parties that participate in that. It's up, and the intention is limiting as far as is possible because the overall target group for the PYI is excluded young people. So, and actually it's a target across not just the NPMN, but even across the PYI, demand-led work, etc. So we are really trying to, as far as is possible, deal with young people who currently cannot access the labor market. So you'll see that we place very high preference on innovations that are actually going to help us achieve that.
Perfect. Thank you. That clarifies.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, Lerato. Perhaps we can, there aren't any more questions?
Is there no budget template provided? I think we can deal with that when we make the presentation as IDP.
Okay, yes. So perhaps the questions, if we can leave it to, restricted to what Lerato and Bianca have presented. If there isn't anything further on Bianca's and Lerato's presentation, we can then move on to Stuart. Is it Harambee?
Harambee.
Oh, yeah, Harambee presentation.
No, it's Stuart next.
Is it? Harambee not
Yes.
presented. Okay, there we
No.
go. All right. Let me upload that. Give me a second, Stuart. Just quickly for Pindile's purposes, Control V. I've just posted the email address, Pindile, so you can email your question there, and I will forward you the terms of reference and application form directly. Let me get to Stuart's presentation. Dan.
Sorry.
Yeah, this one here.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stuart. I am part of the team with Calviny that we looking after this project from IDC perspective. Oh, why doesn't it want to change to Sibbins?
Okay.
Okay. So what we're doing is we're asking for suitably qualified organizations to provide novel opportunities, so approaches to either to scale or bring in new pilots connecting young people to earning opportunities. Pretty much as what Lerato has already discussed. The focus of the fund is to support interventions that will stimulate demand for labor, reduce barriers that hinder labor market entry by youth, and facilitate links to appropriate earning opportunities. The deadline for submissions is the 8th of July this year at 5 p.m. Please, we will, because it is an open call, we will not be able to entertain any late submissions. So again, Lerato has touched on a couple of these, but the three key objectives of the fund is to stimulate and aggregate demand. Secondly, to driving systems change to address the barriers of entry for young people, and then linking young people to opportunities. This presentation will be on the sent to you all, or be put on the online. So I'm not going to go through any details in this introduction. Maybe it's very important to say that we're looking at priority growth areas with employment potential for young people, as said, and it covers the entire economic spectrum. Preference will be given to initiatives that target economically marginalized areas such as townships, rural areas, and peri-urban areas, as well as identified poverty nodes. The fund will prioritize matching platforms and that are additional to what is already provided in the network. What we will not fund is interventions that focus only on research. Training programs that are not linked to the system objectives of the national pathway. In other words, those that are not linked to employment opportunities. Community service programs, publicly funded employment programs, and new startup businesses due to the lack of implementation track record. The broad criteria, and this is in the terms of reference, but we'll go through that. It needs to be managed by experienced implementers that have at least a 3-year track record operating in this area of interest. They must be willing to participate in the network and adhere to the core principles of the network. They must demonstrate the capacity to address the barriers faced by youth and actively support the entry and retention of young people into the labor market. Where initiatives have been successfully piloted, be able to clearly articulate the outcomes of that pilot. Where initiatives are currently in the piloting phase, be able to clearly articulate activities that are already being carried out, outstanding activities, and anticipated outcomes of the initiative. Demonstrate that you are not just requesting funds to finance your current activities. So in other words, please demonstrate that you are what you will do that is new or different in supporting young people. Proposed interventions must articulate how innovation can be sustainably scaled up. Because ultimately what we want to do is get as many young people into the process and the system as possible. Intermediaries that have received previous funding must achieve at least 80% performance on each of their current contracted program indicators. This is a previous funding round that we're talking about. Either already well-established monitoring and evaluation protocol and capacity, or demonstrate the ability to establish one. What we really want to see is the applicants must include their proposed budget, an allocation of resources and for monitoring and evaluation, and will be expected to report against standard indicators for the program, which are presented in Annexure 2 of the document. This is really important. We need to report back on the use of these funds. We need to make sure that the programs that you implement are adequate. And obviously, we would like to see which of those can be scaled up or replicated elsewhere. In addition, applicants must be able to track the movement of each participant through the various support interventions offered, and provide feedback and provide evidence on the achievement of milestones. Where necessary, applicants are expected to propose additional SMART indicators for all anticipated project outcomes and impact of the initiative. It is important for the applicants to include a theory of change in their proposal. It articulates how the project activities will unlock earning opportunities for young people. And I think the last annexure of the terms of reference document, there is an example of what we expect in terms of an example of a theory of change that is required. Institutional criteria then, moving on to the more specific issues in terms of the applicants. A minimum, you must meet all the current criteria. These are, need to be, applicants are required to be registered with the Department of Employment and Labour in terms of published regulations. Applicants can and may register using the link provided. Public entities applying for funding are subject to applicable eligibility criteria. In addition, the proposed initiative must be distinguished from other initiatives previously or currently being funded with public funds. NPOs, PBOs, other types of entities should also provide proof of appropriate registration and legal status. Must be fully compliant with the administrative requirements generally, that is, for example, tax compliance status. You should have an audited financial statements or reviewed financials covering at least the last 3 financial years. And must have a track record of more than 3 years and technical experience in the area of interest. Getting on to the again into more specifics, the criteria and the terms. Funds will be made available as follows. A minimum grant request available per applicant is 5 million rand, and the maximum is 25 million rand. We do expect a minimum matched funding. Government institutions 1-to-1, non-governmental institutions and NPOs 1 to 0.5 or 50%. Private sector applicants 1-to-1. For each applicant, the budget should be categorized into the following: amount of administrative costs required to implement the proposed initiative, salaries and wages for project staff, costs associated with transitioning young people into new jobs, fees to be paid to any consultants and service providers, the cost of monitoring and evaluation activities, as I've mentioned before, and the cost of any equipment or assets directly related to implementing the proposed initiative. We do not, is it Pindila's, no, it wasn't, it was David. We purposely did not put a budget there. We don't want to limit limit you to what we put in, but to really want to see a holistic response to the terms. Applicants will note that will not provide the following, as I've mentioned, research initiatives. However, applicants where research is taken a step further and results implementing pilots or proof of concept may be considered. Infrastructure costs such as fixed property vehicles are specifically excluded. However, cost of movable infrastructure specifically related to the capacity of the applicant to implement the proposed initiative will be considered. While in-kind matched funding will not be recognized as part of the matched funding, additional inclusion thereof will be favorably considered in the program. How we will measure this and how we will judge the applicants and initiatives. We need to see the scale. Obviously, that is very important. Innovation, very high in the process. We're looking for innovative ideas. Capacity and readiness to implement, a significant portion goes into that. Sustainability, we would like to see post the funding some sort of sustainability or a plan for sustainability going forward. And then additionality, whatever else is brought to the party. And so the key requirements to note, I'm going on saying this again, 8th of July at 5 p.m. Key information, dates and updates will all be available on the IDC link. Further information in terms of the PYEI and the network can be accessed on the attached or the link provided. We will require a ring-fenced bank account for this program projects so that we can monitor expenditures and so on. Performance indicators must be carefully defined and aligned with the expectations of the fund. Other key government funding, applicants are expected to declare any existing contracts with other public employment interventions, training programs, or learnerships. Applicants are also expected to identify any conflicts that may arise from these and how the risks will be managed. Although existence is not necessarily will not necessarily impact on the eligibility of the applicant, subject to the criteria of additionality, failure to declare will be deemed as a breach of trust and will result in termination of the application. And in instance where contracting has been concluded, termination of the contract. Intellectual property, while intellectual property will reside with the project partner, all successful applicants must permit the PYE to use the concept for learning and dissemination purposes. Learning material will be developed in conjunction with the owner of the IP and will not be used for commercial dissemination. Application process. Provide grant funding through a competitive one-stage application process. All applicants must be submitted to the following email address. You see it on the screen, innovationfund@idc.co.za. Very important, we will not be able to accept any hard copies. Everything has to please be put on the system to maintain integrity of the in terms of receiving the funds, I mean the applications and so forth. Applications are firstly assessed against eligibility criteria. If these are not met, it could immediately result in your application not receiving further consideration. After the eligibility assessment, the application is competitively assessed against impact criteria that we've mentioned before. Thereafter, a decision is taken as to which proposals should be allocated grant funding. There will be obviously an evaluation against each other for those that qualify. The Funds Investment Committee makes the final decision. The competitiveness of each project is a key consideration throughout the entire process. Again, The next webinar is on the 18th of June 2024, where we will be able to not only go through these presentations again, but also to answer any further questions that might. And the closure date, once again, is the 8th of July. There's you may email us at innovationfund@idc.co.za, or you could visit the web address as the idc.co.za/innovation fund. And Calviny, that's my story. I think
Thanks,
you take it from there.
Thanks, June. Yeah, so you can look at some of the questions in the chat and hands raised. We've got one from Nolo. Nolo, do you want to? My apologies. Can we go to TSET?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Nolo, you go. You go.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for a great presentation. I just wanted to ask around timelines. Obviously, the application deadline's on the 8th. How long does the adjudication process take before final decision actually made?
So what we're anticipating here is after the closure, we're looking at undertaking a shortlisting, a shortlisting of the applications in terms of quickly assessing who meets the criteria, then doing a basic assessment, maybe a combined process, and thereafter doing a due diligence assessment. Once the due diligence is completed, we will the teams will then present to the investment committee the final lot of applications that should be considered under the program as it currently the value of the program that we currently have. We as thereafter you would after the approval process it will be a legal the contracting process. So let's just say if we go up to the approval process, we're looking at about 5 to 6 weeks, and thereafter about 2 weeks to 3 weeks for contracting. Obviously, if there aren't too many issues, the contracting process should be a lot quicker.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Well, some of the questions, Carl. As government, we don't have a bank account, but can allocate a cost center ring fence for the fund. Is this acceptable? I think in terms of government, that would be acceptable because yeah, we understand the parameters in which you can work, so that would be acceptable. What is the funding term or period?
We're looking at a 2.5-year project period. So we will contract with you for 2.5 years.
Will only match funding be considered? Yes, we are looking at particularly looking at leveraging or crowding in other funding other than a government. So yes, it will be necessary. Lerato, you want to add to that answer? Lerato? Want to say anything, Cal?
No, I think I'm comfortable with that. Sure, maybe we can look at a hand or two. So we've got TSET. So you want to post your question, raise your question?
Yeah.
No, greetings. My name is Tisetso Machele, and I'm from the Free State Department of Economic Development. I've got one or two questions, and I'm going to request that I pose them all, and then maybe they'll be answered later on. The first question relates to the sectors. Are there specific sectors that the Innovation Fund is targeting with regard to the applicants that would then be actually be applying for this fund? Secondly, what then becomes the role of the provincial offices or regional offices of the IDC with regard to increasing uptake with regard to applications? The third question, I think that Nolo dealt with it. It is about the application period, and I think it has been dealt with. And then the last one is whether we'll be able to get the copies of the presentation after this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Titetso, for those questions. Yes, the presentations and the recording of the this webinar will be uploaded onto the website, so you'll be able to easily access it there. In terms of the IDC regional and provincial offices, the application process is online. So, or rather, you would be emailing your applications to the IDC. So we would not expect any walk-ins either to head office or to any of our provincial offices. I hope I understood your question there. So all applications will be through the Innovation Fund at idc.co.za email address. Stu, there was another question. I don't know
The
if you-
issue of the sectors, yes, as mentioned in the earlier, all sectors will be considered. So we're not we're sector agnostic in this regard. All sectors will be considered. Yeah, I think those are the questions from here.
Yeah, thank you, Titetso. I hope you were covered there. Can we move to Desigan Chetty?
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So Desigan Chetty, I'm from Property Point, which is one of the small business incubators, accelerators operating in the property sector. The question that I had was around the concept itself and the time frame, because I noted that one of your criteria was that you would have to have 3 years worth of track record. So would the solution that we are looking to put forward also have a similar period of track record, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. I think we just want to make sure that you have the capacity and the experience to roll out
the solution. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for clarifying that.
Rashida asked the question online whether it's possible or permissible to use match funding from other IDC funded programs, such as the Social Employment Fund. No, that we cannot allow that. This is public money. What we're trying to do is to crowd in funding from elsewhere. So we wouldn't be able to use public funds as the matching fund. Is matching funding from Suhana? Is matching fund a must? Yes, it is. It is part of your competitiveness. And as I say, we're trying to crowd in additional funding into growing this the program. You'll watch for hands, Carl. Rahima, for clarity, as government has maximum funding request is 25 billion rand. So the matched funding can be 25 million rand. Is that right? The project will be 50 million rand? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to put more money into it beyond the 25 million rand from us, that's also acceptable. Mimosa asked the question, do the applicants need to be have confirmed letters of co-funding from co-funders by the 8th of July?
Yes, I think we want to show some level of interest, because the last thing we want to do is go through the process of shortlisting and those the match funding does not come through. So we would like to ensure that before we go into the assessment process, that basic requirements are met.
Rahima asked the question, what is the total funding the IDC has for the window?
At the moment, it's 144 million. 144 million.
Yolandi is asking if my organization has a contract with Harambee with regard outcomes-based funding, are we permitted to apply? My organization has a contract with Harambee with regard outcomes-based funding. Are we permitted to apply?
I would think that that's not a conflict.
I don't think it's a conflict.
I don't think we'd view that as a conflict. Perhaps we can take a few hands now.
Yeah, we've got no more hands.
And we got 3 hands up.
Oh, sorry,
Okay.
mine are not showing.
So we've got Duduzile Makari. If you want to unmute and ask a question.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. My question is around the matched funding. Just for clarity, so if we're asking for, argument's sake, 5 million, as an NPO, we would need to raise 2.5 million. So does that mean our total budget is 7.2 million? Or I'm not sure how to figure out the importance of the match funding, what confidence that gives you, or what is the purpose of it? Sorry, I might not be clear in my question, but if you could give some more detail around the purpose of the match funding, what does the impact that has on one's total budget? Is that money that we would spend, or just more clarity on the match funding, please? Thank you.
Can I ask you?
Yes, so if you're applying for 5 million rand as an NPO, we would expect you to have match funding of 2.5 million rand and that would take your project to a minimum of 7.5 million rand as a program. Why we're doing this is to crowd in and to grow the project, and obviously this is a requirement set to offset some of the costs and to spread the program a little bit wider and larger. So it has become a criteria.
You comfortable there, Duduzile?
Not quite. But let me offline it, because I do have a little bit of more detail. Let me offline it. It's fine. I'll ask my other questions so I don't delay the meeting. Thanks.
Okay. You can certainly send your questions and queries on the email address, and then if you want to have a direct conversation with us, we can probably do that if we're not able to answer via the email. Then we've got Lindiwe sanitary pads.
Hi, everyone. My question is around the issue of creating employment. Do you guys consider creating entrepreneurs as employment of some sort, or you need people that will be absorbed into formal employment?
No, we are looking at both absorbed into formal employment as well as the entrepreneurial activity. That is something that is also part of the program, outcomes of the program.
Okay, just to follow up on that. So yes, so if I understand you correct, you mean the proposal can either be focusing on creating entrepreneurs and being based around entrepreneurship, or be about formal employment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have Lutumile Makobe.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to ask, with regards to the requirement for the organization having a track record of at least 3 years, I think in reality, sometimes having innovative solutions can come from, company that's been existing for a year or 2 years. So is there a possibility of one having a JV, and how does one go about it? Yeah, if you can maybe just clear that up for me, please.
I think, do you want to go ahead, Stuart?
Yeah, I think what we would like to do is the applying, the key applicant or the contracting applicant should have 3 years. We are looking at a track record. So if you go into a joint venture with someone, it's still going to be require that the contracting party has 3 years experience.
So we welcome collaboration as long as you're collaborating with parties that meet the requirements. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We have Rahima Day.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity. So we as Department of Economic Development and Tourism, we attract private sector co-funding by the fact that we get money from provincial treasury, national treasury through various other funding. And I needed to find out from you, is it possible, like, because the way I understand it is that we cannot use our government money to be giving this towards match funding. So normally in our projects, we would go out in various processes and we would get, 3,000, 4,000 young people in through placement, and we would attract private sector money through that process. And so it's similar to this. However, my understanding earlier, it was said we can't use government money as co-funding. Is that what I'm understanding? To the IDC money.
Yeah, private sector funding, any money from the private sector would be welcomed into the and will be considered. However, public funding, whether it is from provincial or national government, will not be considered as I've mentioned, part and parcel of the initiative is to try and crowd in additional funds from the outside government, so non-state funding.
Comfortable there, Rahima?
Yes, that's fine. So we'll have to partner with other people and bring in other value, like all our placements that we have with 80% jobs. So we'll find the value between us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next question is Natasha Lord.
Hi guys. So my question is around the match funding in terms of, is there a specific allocation on the spend? If we match the 10 million, for instance, is there a specification on how that gets spent in the cost centers associated with the specific projects? Is there any kind of guidance or KPIs that you want to see with the funding that's been matched, or is it just all thrown into a pot, stirred around, and wherever the money goes, it goes?
Yes, the 10, so if you've got 10 million and you're getting another 10 million, the 20 million must be applied to your project for the outcomes that we require under this project. So the match funding does not have its own itemized list, and the funding from the Innovation Fund has a separate. They both come together to meet your proposal, so that you can then the requirements and fulfill the outcomes. So it's matched. It's together. They applied together.
Okay, thank you so much.
Are there questions?
Yes, there are questions online. Does the in-kind contribution that is not considered include land and buildings? Why are these excluded? From Lutando, from the Mine Workers Development Agency. Yeah, land and buildings will be excluded. We are looking at a cash contribution in this regard. Reason being, we would like to expand the initiative and make sure that that we crowd in funding finances around the public funds that we are making available. There's a question from Bongi. If your application is for less than 5 million rand, does this disqualify you as an applicant? Unfortunately, yes. We have a minimum of 5 million rand and a maximum of 20 million rand in relation to the funds from this specific intervention.
I think we're looking for meaningful programs, and 5 million matched to the various ratios will be able to give a more meaningful a meaningful proposal or from the market. So I think anything smaller will be difficult to make a meaningful impact.
So Ilse is asking the question, we are to get funding from the National State National Skills Fund. We will use this to train youth in high demand skills. Could we then use this funding, if successful, to put some of the learners into our pilot livelihood hubs, which transition learners into the informal economy? Also, my view is that as long as it doesn't form part and parcel of the match funding requirement, yes, you can. We would like to see synergies between the programs. We would like to, and particularly synergies between public funds. Just remember that it needs, as part of the criteria I read out, it needs to show, you need to show additionality. You need to show why and how you're going to extend this, and be very careful to also declare this up front in your application. As it could, if failing that, it could be a problem. Can the 5 million? Sorry, is jumping here. Can the 5 million rand minimum be applied across multiple years? You earlier said the project will run for 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
It's it's a 2.5-year program.
That's from Wendy. Wendy, you happy with that? Yes, thumbs up. Malusi, as an NPO, if we have a guaranteed funding from IDC of, say, 5 million rand, could this motivate other funders to match the funding? If we apply and don't have match funding up front, does this disqualify us?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, it will. We need to have strong indications, not only indications, but commitment to the matched funding. Somebody anonymous here. If the business has been in operation for more than 4 years, I take it, but is starting to make a profit last year, does the business qualify for funding?
And we are looking at, I think we're going to, apart from testing the ability of the company from a financial point of view, we're looking at track record in terms of systems and processes. I think we want to see strong financial, or at least a sustainable business. So I think it will be very difficult for us to make a call on a business that has only shown 1 year of profitability. So I think in that case, it will be difficult for us to assess that or take that into our shortlist.
Derek is asking, I am running a data consulting company. One of the key areas is training youth on data literacy using Power BI and Tableau and SQL. Does this qualify for funding?
It's not for training.
We are specifically looking at moving from training to earning. So if your proposal will have to show a transition of the learners or the trainees into permanent or into jobs or or self-employment. This is the real important part of the proposal. Training, as look at the terms of reference. Training is it's an essential part of getting into the employment side. Part of it may be considered, but the real purpose of this fund is to make sure that young people are placed or earning money.
Can we go to some hands then?
Yeah.
We've got a hand, Malusi Ngwenya.
Oh, yes, my question was answered. Thank you. Thank you.
Then we can move to Senzo and Alan.
Good afternoon. This is Alan from Zlato. And a question, we have a platform that rewards young people for becoming active citizens and targeting and reducing unemployment. But we were started within another organization. We've been operating within the organization since 2016. Then we registered independently in like 2021, September side. So we're just falling short of the 3 years officially registered. We have 2 years audited financials, but we've actually been operating since 2016. So does that make a difference? Like how would we apply? Or do we have to co-fund with our parent company? Or
I think to be fair across the board, because we're being particular about the track record, if we would like to see the a hand being held with your parent company, so that we know whatever was in the parent company successfully that was successfully executed is going to be the same in your now 2-3-year business. So I think we would like to see that that come through in your application, that there is still a link to the parent company.
Thank you so much for that. And just a second question from me, Senzo. I want to find out, is there also a target in terms of like the amount of people that needs to be placed? Is there like across the 2 years or number of jobs? Is it like youth? Is it like across the board? Like just what are some of like the key metrics in terms of like the deliverables?
So because this is a competitive process, you can really only look for opportunities that your proposal can eventually provide as an outcome. So because this is a competitive process, we're going to look at the applications and see who gives us more bang for our buck. So we're not going to say you need to find employment for 100 youth. Your proposal might not be able to make it, or your proposal might be able to make it create opportunities for a lot more. So we can't say. We would like you to tell us what your proposal is able to offer, and then we will compare you and compare all the proposals together and see who gives us the most employees, and then prioritize according to that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Then we have Lindiwe again. Yeah, Lindiwe, you can go ahead.
So my question is also around the matching fund. What do you need as proof of existence of the funds? Is it we must submit a bank statement, or our financials should be able to reflect, or you need a proof from the bank? What is it that is needed for that? And then the other question is, I know you said something about not wanting government funding, but or money that comes from a government institution. But what happens when one has been sort of funded by the likes of IDC as a loan? Because sometimes you do it as a grant, but as a loan, is that still regarded as government funding, or because now it belongs to you, it has been approved by and it's in your control?
So you're talking about a loan, having received a loan from the IDC.
Yes.
I don't think that won't be viewed as the match fund.
Sorry?
It won't be viewed as match funding. So when we talk about government, so we within the IDC manage a variety of government monies. For example, the Social Employment Fund, that is government money. We managing it. So if you've received money from the Social Employment Fund that is managed by the IDC, the Social Employment Fund is government monies, and in that sense, it won't be acceptable. But if you've got a loan from the IDC that is not government money, that won't be viewed. That will be viewed as match funding. But it will be difficult to, yeah. But let me leave it at that. If you got normal loan funding from the IDC, you will qualify.
Okay, thank you. And then the proof of existence of funds, what do you need as proof?
So you can get soft and hard commitments. A soft commitment is someone said, you know, we are happy to provide you with the match funding, and a hard commitment where they've actually got a signed agreement with you, even if they have not possibly transferred any funds to you. But I think we would like to see where there's a hard commitment. If ultimately we are also, it is a competitive process, and you come with a soft commitment and someone else comes with a hard commitment, we'll probably go with the individual that has the hard commitment, where while the funding might not necessarily be in the bank account, but there is a signed agreement, we'll be happy to see that.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Questions.
And okay, let me just do one more hand here. We've got Letumile Makobe.
Thank you. Sorry, it's actually not a question, but just a comment, because I feel like I could be speaking for a lot more other people that have attended. I think maybe in the future, or I don't know if there's ever been anything where you can consider, you know, for example, when it comes to investment and you've got angel investors and you do a presentation, because there's a lot of solutions or innovations that are out there, but sometimes because of the red tape that comes with whether applying for loans or whether applying for, you know, funds like this one, your people sit or then carry on giving the solution. For example, with our organization, we've helped a lot of people outside of South Africa because of the red tape, that whether the members that we want to help are not able to access that funding, or but I think generally in South Africa, there's a lot of unnecessary red tape, and then we keep on saying, where are the solutions? Or then we keep on having to do the same thing over and over again that doesn't necessarily work because of red tape. So maybe you can consider implementing partners, or you know, for M&E and all that stuff. I do understand there's a lot that, you know, with a startup or a fairly new company that they wouldn't be able to maybe manage, or you want to make sure that they can see this project through. So maybe try and think of a way where you can have organizations that are ready to take up entrepreneurs or innovative people that have coming up with solutions, but don't then meet because now when you say to somebody, go and find a JV partner, not everybody knows where to start looking for one. You know, so you do lose out on a lot of innovative ideas simply because of red tape. And I do think a lot of the people that might not be able to apply would be the fairly new companies that don't meet the 3-year requirement, but with the real solutions that could be game changers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Letumile. I understand, but I understand where you're coming from. From our side, because it is government money, we have to make sure that it's going to entities that we have a high degree of comfort will take care of the money, steward the monies appropriately, and you know, give us the outcomes that we intend to get out of this money. It is government money, so that does play an important part. But I do appreciate that there might be people who have a solution, and because they don't have the track record, they're not going to be given the opportunity. But that is the balancing act when it comes to government money. Stuart, do you want to go through some questions?
Well, just before that, just to respond also, there are various different funds on social innovation. So maybe it might not fit into this program for those reasons, but there are other. I'm sure that there are other funds that will look at the social innovation for innovative solutions. And you may contact me on that website, on that email address, and we can look at that. Now I'm putting myself out there.
That's a good thing.
Okay, some questions. Sorry, I didn't hear your response carefully. To be more specific, would a budget of 2.5 million rand for 2 years meet the criteria of minimum 5 million rand criteria?
The budget at 2.5 million. I think we're looking at the budget amount for the 2.5 years, not per annum. So if you bring a proposal where you have 5 million from a request from the Innovation Fund of 5 million and 2.5 million from a match funder, that 7.5 million will be for the 2.5 years.
Are terms like additionality explained on the website?
Yes.
The weighing and transparency on this is appreciated. Yes, it is.
Yes, if you go to the frequently asked questions, we've highlighted what additionality means. So on the website, we've uploaded, or rather, it's not uploaded, it's on the website directly. You can look for the definition of additionality.
I just can't reach it on my screen at the moment, but anyway. I think you're going to have problems too.
Oh.
Will the funding be to implement over 1 year, or the implementation be spread over 2 years? If spread out, in which year will funding be paid out to the implementing organization?
So the funding is going to be tailored to the proposal, and funding is not going to be paid upfront. Depending on the proposal, it will be done in tranches and milestones, but a tranche-based disbursement to the implementing agent. If we approve you for 20 million rand, you won't get the 20 million rand upfront.
Teres is asking the question, what are the available opportunities for SMEs who are a year or less in the program, especially those whose interest is to curb unemployment, etc.?
SMEs.
Yeah, I think we again, it comes, there must be opportunity. As I mentioned, there are other programs supporting social innovation, but this particular program, we will have to stick to our commitment of a 3-year period. The match funding upfront is going to eliminate a lot of good potential providers. Lauren, absolutely, we are aware of that, but we also work within the parameters of what Treasury has provided. Part of this, it's a competitive program, and it is about matching public funds with other funding. So yes, it may do so, but it also creates an opportunity for partnerships to be developed and the like. And that is what is part of this program is wanting to discuss. Thank you, Henry. Hi, Henry. Henry's asking you, Derek, to get in touch with him. Rahima, what is evidence for match funding? I think
we've answered that.
At what point does match funding have to be proven? I think Calvin, you answered that. Tumile, it's somebody, you've got a in discussion. Rahima, when is the estimated start date? I know you touched on it, but
yeah. So there's obviously, I had mentioned, there is the process of shortlisting, basic assessment, due diligence, approval process, and contracting. So we would hope that we can have funds flowing to implementing partners as soon as possible in October.
Then there's a comment to the Zlato question. Akoso has touched base with Lerato, and you can apply, but please indicate that you've been operating since 2016 and indicate the involvement of our labs in Zlato at present and indicate your compliance and other requirements. So that's a specific, yeah. Rahima, are terms like additionality explained on the website? Yes, they are. I have an innovative solution that's already live that answers the fund objectives, and the funding is needed to scale up from a marketing point of view, and so requires less than 5 million rand. Match funding has already been used for tech development. Does this still disqualify the solution?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it does. What we're looking at is for scaling up your project initiative, and we want to see more new money into the being brought in. So unfortunately, yes. That's the last question I've got on mind.
Got 3 hands here, and we've got Karen Buckler.
Hi, yeah. I just quickly wanted to check, sorry, again, with match funding. So obviously, as at the 8th of July, we're a non-profit. We probably wouldn't have a commitment from a third party, but would we be able to give a commitment for match funding from our reserves? So if we could prove that we have reserves, let's say to the tune of 2.5 million for a 5 million rand project, would that count then as match funding? And then we could go look for third parties to fund, you know, over the course of the 2 years?
Yes, that is 2.5 million we wouldn't have got into the program. So absolutely, we would include that, and as long as it's committed upfront and it will be applied in the program, which we during the contracting process will also ensure that that funding is available and proof of it, and obviously application of that money into the proposal. So we will be comfortable with that.
Okay. And then, sorry, just one other, sorry, quickly. The definition of absorption, would that be fixed term contracts, employment contracts, or permanent employment contracts?
Yeah.
Lerato, you want to answer that question? We are looking at preferably full-time employment, and but yeah, Lerato, you got a response specifically for that one? Somebody else from presidency?
Yeah, just give her 1 second.
Maybe in the meantime, can we go to Tswelo Pele group? Tswelo Pele group, sorry. Tswelo Pele group. You want to go ahead?
Hi. Thanks for giving me a chance. I unfortunately also got the presentation midway, so a lot of the information I may have missed, but I wanted to just support and second the views expressed by, I think it's the other lady, Litumile, to the fact that this, whilst I understand the spirit in which the criteria has been set out, due to being it being a government, these being government funds. I understand all of that, but this elitist approach is what does tend to exclude a lot of previously disadvantaged people and entrepreneurs in the space because of this extreme elitist approach of access to fund. And we understand the reasons why things have to be set out that way, but there should be at least a leeway that takes into account that some innovations may not have got a traction of 3 years into it. Like, for instance, we are in the energy space, and a lot of the energy related innovations are almost quite new, given the scenario that we are faced with in terms of load shedding, etc., etc. But we've only been operational for 2 years as a consortium in terms of upskilling and training of young people, and particularly women here in the Northern Cape. But now, because, and we've got quite traction in terms of employability of the trainees and incubatees that came out of our program. But now, because of the criteria of it being 3 years to show, etc., for me that is a little bit unfair. And the matching approach as well. Not all of us have the same ability and means to be able to source matching funds. And then again, it will exclude a lot of deserving enterprises going forward. And that's really my comment.
Thank you for your comments. Well, the call is out as it is, and we will certainly consider your comments. And as we go through this process as well, there's obviously going to be learnings, but we've noted your comments. Thank you for that. Can I move to MS Mayo?
Okay. Good afternoon, ma'am, and your team. I just want to comment to the previously speaker. I think he elaborated very well that we have a problem in South Africa. The problem is not on entrepreneurs, but it's on government. This red tape is keep on getting us on the way. For example, I have a project with Fentech, that is a digital migration. I discovered that there is no manufacturing of the satellite dish for the project in South Africa. Now we have to wait for it from China. I come up with innovation of training student and also manufacture that dish so that the dish can be manufactured in South Africa, and also train students to be part of OpenView. OpenView is giving me an opportunity of manufacturing a dish because we are on the digital migration. So I've got a partner from OpenView, but not money-wise, but the project, they will support it in terms of testing the dish and also the area that we can use. I also have a partner that is accredited by Maxi that has got a track record of training students to be installers. At the end of the day, after training, they will be permanently be installers in their different areas in South Africa, especially in rural area. I spent the last 2 years traveling in Eastern Cape. I discovered that there is a lot of opportunities for young people to be trained. Hence, I come up with that innovative. So I am sitting and thinking while you are presenting this fund, and I even try to got IDC on the social media. I even said we've got a strong proposal for this project, but now here is the problem now. My company, it's a innovative because I've got 2 companies currently that is on Centec with installation, but I do not have manpower here. Hence, I wanted to take more students to be installers as well. So the problem is that now you don't fund startup. That's where the problem starts. Because our government, they want us to create jobs, but they are still holding us with a big knife in front of us. I want IDC to come up with a creative way of trying to meet us on the way. This red card, it must be scrapped. Otherwise, the unemployment will keep in going up. I thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I think, like we said to the previous caller, yeah, these are unfortunately are specific to the conditions are specific to this fund. Should we'll take any learnings and any comments going forward and discuss that, but we've gone out to an open call at the moment, so we can't change the rules of this call. And I must be quite honest that it is a very, very important part of this funding is to have that partnership and arrangement and that co-funding. So, but we will take into consideration your comments, maybe for other programs.
Ketsi. Ketsi, do you want to raise your question?
Hello, everyone. Hi. So for me, I think I would like to get maybe it's a comment more than a question. I mean, the role of GIZ. I think just listening to the presentation that GIZ has made, I mean, and also listening to the concerns that are coming from other people who have innovation solutions. I think for me, that's where I suppose their role of what GIZ is supposed to probably maybe to be doing in terms of while people might maybe go and look for technical support, that's where probably maybe the linkages that could be created, whether with smaller organizations that might not necessarily have the capacity to actually apply on their own, but how do we also try to make sure that as these innovative solutions are coming to them, they can also try to play a role of linking them with organizations that they can be able to submit strong proposals. So for me, I think the role of GIZ in the technical support of putting meaningful and strong proposals will play a big role, I think, in this round.
Yeah, Ketsi, thank you. Yeah, the question.
No, thank you very much for that. And I think maybe Bianca can respond to that, but I think it's sound advice. Maybe there's also other organizations that are listening that maybe can be prepared to collaborate with.
Absolutely, yes. I can only encourage you to make use of that support. Thank you so much for putting it so eloquently.
We've got a hand, Joel Tobias.
Hey guys, I was thinking as much as the terms has been published and it's fixed, maybe one solution would be in future, whether it's an amendment to this or future request, is to maybe work on smaller cutoffs. Say, for example, a company that's new in the game, meaning to reduce the risk. Instead of saying, you can only apply for maybe $1 million match funding, whatever the case may be. By doing that, we reduce the risk, if they don't necessarily implement. So purely from a co-funding size or experience size, it might be a way for us to grow, newer, younger companies, into hopefully participating at a bigger scale. But that wouldn't necessarily exclude everybody that wouldn't qualify in terms of the current format. And you guys will still then remember to clarify the absorption definition meaning as per earlier request.
Yes, thank you. Lerato, do you have that answer ready on the absorption with regard to permanent employment, temporary?
Sure, thank you. And maybe just also to, I don't know if this came up, but that the intention is obviously that we're looking to incentivize or crowd in innovative solutions that are helping young people secure sustainable jobs. So that the fund is not looking to it's not a public employment fund in the same way that some of the other programs in government are designed. But typically in the PYI, what we define as sustainable jobs is either permanent or at least a 12-month contract for young people, and with a lot of support provided to really ensure that they get sustained or retained in those jobs and supported to keep those jobs. So innovations that are really targeted at addressing some of those barriers would be very important for us to consider. But we haven't actually made any strict stipulations on that's the definition that we use to define, but we are willing to consider innovations that are looking at, because it's about pathways and managing pathways. So if people have ideas that are looking at 6 months but have really strong elements around what the earning pathway of the young person, it may not be in a single job that that they achieve a minimum of 12 months, but that the pathway will actually get them into sustainable earning, that those can be put forward, because what we're actually interested in is the intervention itself that is actually creating the demand or stimulating the demand, and whether that intervention then is unlocking sustainability of earning. I hope that clarifies.
Thanks, Lerato. We have Ketsi, your hand is up again.
Yeah, I just wanted to check with Lerato. So Lerato, I think there might be solutions where people are coming up with solutions for, you know, enterprise development and all of that. So how would you then define or maybe measure those kind of, you know, opportunities, I mean, that are being created by small, medium enterprises? Is it at the level of the SMEs or micro enterprises that these guys will be creating, or is it at an individual level of the actual youth that is employed within those organizations?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd need to get a clearer example there, but this fund is not targeted at funding SMEs in the same way that IDC already does, or the NYDA in terms of enterprise development, because we're trying to resolve ecosystem barriers. So it's not a SMME fund in the same that we're going to give you money to run your SMME. If you are wanting to solution around young people being able to retain or access self-employment or forms of enterprise, that the solution needs to be, what are some of the ecosystem challenges that actually prevent that? That are not direct funding to an SMME that the network can then engage with. I need an example of exactly of what you're speaking about. But if the example is we want direct grant funding to an SMME, that would not qualify as what the network is trying to crowd in.
So let me make an example. So you have an organization that says, look, we run almost, so we have a system of where we have multiple partners, where there will be partners who are providing funding, access to finance to small, medium enterprises, and access to training. So this platform then what it does is that it then crowds in young youth to attend. So they will run almost like a week event where young youth will attend, whether it would be somebody who might be looking for opportunities that are related to employment, training, or probably access to finance. So the question that I'm asking is that if that particular network in that format that, you know, now you have an opportunity that you are supporting this youth who's got an enterprise, we have given him an access to finance, and we facilitate in that particular process of this individual to be able to get access to finance. What are you measuring? Are you measuring the enterprise, or are you measuring the actual number of jobs that SME will be creating?
So actually your example is very useful, because the solution there that this fund would look to support is this platform that is aggregating different support, funding, etc. So in a particular context, you are aggregating and closing different barriers at an ecosystem level that affect the success of young people running enterprise. That platform would be something that we'd want to crowd in. So the measure then will be on the success of how that platform is able to bring in the right levels of support, the right levels or the right kinds of funding. Who are you able to crowd in? So it would be to expand the reach of that platform. That's a solution that we'd be looking to crowd into the network that then solves the gap around how young people are accessing forms of enterprise or are able to. So even like an aggregator platform that is making self-employment opportunities available to young people, scaling something like that or supporting something like that to reach more of them. That's the level at which we'd intervene, not at the level of the young person or in individual enterprise. So that was actually a very helpful example. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you, everyone. There aren't any further questions or hands, and it is 2:05, but I'm happy to keep it for another minute or so if there's any other burning questions. If not, we can close. And our email address is available for further questions. And we will have another webinar, as pointed out, on the 18th of June. But I think if you have any important questions, please raise it before the webinar, so if you don't eat into the availability period for your applications. Thank you. Say thank you. I know Bianca has dropped off. Thank you, Lerato. Appreciate your participation and supporting us. And thanks, Stuart.
Thanks, everybody. We look forward to hearing from everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.